Free China! Free China! Free China! Take away! Take away! Take away! Now, let's imagine this is China. You see, people would be shot dead right now, and there would be CCP police arresting each and every one of us. Never to be seen. Some of you might even be killed. Now, the CCP have been doing this for the last 60 years. 60 years of murder, 60 years of torture, 60 years of brutality, and 60 years of immeasurable suffering. Not just only to the people of China, but people of Inner Mongolia, East Turkestan, and of course Tibet, the place that I was born. Now the Chinese Communist Party have successfully restrained and leash their control and their power in China and the rest of the region in the last 60 years. That they've leashed the freedom, the justice, and the freedom of religion in all these regions. But the spirit of people has remained intact. It hasn't died yet. And this very spirit that has the spirit in all of us would one day see us through against this brutal dictatorship. And this very spirit will see us back in free China, back in free Tibet. Free China! Free China! Free China! Free China! Pegalo! 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 Now the gift of CCP, as some of the previous speaker have mentioned, is the immeasurable suffering to the people of China. As I was reading one of the statistics, more than 80 million people have been killed by this regime. Never in the history of mankind we saw a regime that killed that amount of people. And in my own country, they've killed more than 1 million Tibetans, they've destroyed more than 6,000 monasteries, and just 2007 they have passed this ridiculous law which would mean that all the reincarnated Tibetan Lama would need to get a permission from the CCP, the Chinese Communist government. Now this is the same government that claims itself to be an atheist government. This is the same government that tried and destroying Tibetan religion. And CCP, the time, like all the dictatorship and triumph that we have seen in the past, is coming to an end. And just as I said before, the spirit of us will carry out to China and one day free all the people in China, all the people in Tibet, all the people in Inner Mongolia, all the people in East Turkestan. Now I want to reiterate the position of majority of Tibetans because there are a number of Chinese here. The Tibetan struggle is not a struggle of a territorial issue. No, it's a struggle of power. It's a struggle of surviving Tibetan culture. It's a struggle of Tibetan identity. It's a struggle of saving Tibetan religion, which is Buddhism, which is a huge potential, not only for the people of Tibet, but for the people of China, as many of you have mentioned before, that a large number of Chinese people claim themselves to be a religious people. And today, as I see around a lot of Tibetan and Chinese coming together. Now, most of you would know that in 2008, we saw a number of protests in Tibet. We saw more than 100 protests in Tibet. Now, more than 98% were peaceful. 98% were peaceful. And the Chinese Communist Party manipulated that circumstances, manipulated that protest to create a rift between Tibetan and the Chinese people. And today, And today gathering here with the Tibetan and Chinese sends a strong message, and it's a testament that the Chinese CCP manipulation doesn't work in Sydney. That the bond between ordinary Han Chinese and ordinary Han Tibetan in Sydney remains unbroken. It cannot be manipulated. And the spirit is strong as ever before. And this very spirit, the Chinese Communist Party cannot buy in the international market like they have with the other nations. That this very spirit will one day make us return to Tibet, to China, to our respective countries. And today, very gathering here sends a strong message to the Chinese Communist Party that this is the future of China, a future where Chinese and Tibetans live side by side as an equal, live side by side without discrimination, live side by side with all the rights that we aspire to be living in China, to be living in Tibet as a Chinese, as a Tibetan, with respect and with dignity. Free China! Free China! Free China! Free China! Free China! Take the law! Take the law! Take the law! Free China! 让我们他们认真来的 Free China! Free China! Free China! Free China! Shen Shen CCP! Shen Shen! Shen Shen! Shen Shen! Shen Shen! Free! 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 Thank you.